from the deepest depths of the dark web. Dark of the night.
Hello, night crawlers. Welcome to another episode of Dark of the Night. I'm Eric Yearwood.
And I'm Alex Myers. Genetic engineering. It seems low key. It seems banal, even, Eric. But Jesus in heaven with God and everyone. It is one of our most important discussions to date.
It is, and Alex, as always, I want you to look your absolute best. And so if you just sort of tilt, ever so slightly. Actually, you can move a little to your right, just a tad. There you go. Perfect. Alex, your head is framed almost perfectly in the frame.
We're buttoned up.
Night crawlers, thank you for joining us tonight, and we're going to dive deep into what we know about the topic of gene editing.
Ed Toast, good to have you here. Good to have all the night crawlers here. Eric, any announcements? How's your? I gotta ask because we haven't been able to talk as much as we usually do. How? Forgive the colloquialism. The F has your week been?
My week has been fair to Midland, I'd say. I kicked things off with the first virtual reality live stream, and I thank you, Alex, for watching that. Some of your commentary, it really kind of like gave me the power to prevail in the cyber realm. So,
Eric, I'm going to interrupt you. Ed pointed out that you're a little quieter, noticeably quieter than me. Let me take a second to.
Let me pump up my volume. And hello, test 1 2 3. How's them apples, Ed Toast?
I mean, to my ears, that sounds like rock and roll. Much better.
Ed Toast said much better. Ah, great. Yeah. Well, Ed Toast. So I was saying that I started sort of the expansion of our live streams with the Eric's Arcanum stream on Monday. And that was exciting, and it was good. I was broadcasting from the back of the Best Buy stock room, and as you know, that can get a little scary because you don't know when somebody's going to come in there. I know you've been back there doing some things that you didn't want anybody to know about, and so you could probably relate. It's a little intimidating to do that when nobody knows you're back there. Do you agree?
Yeah. When you say that when someone says that so there's a guy we work with, his name's Ted, and he is very tall, and I don't usually judge people on their physical attributes, but he is a giant. He has the demeanor of a giant, like a bad giant. And the other day I said, Diane, where's Ted? He's supposed to take over for me. She said he's in the stock room. And I immediately knew that Ted was doing something wrong in there. You only go into the stock room to do something wrong. It's like there's no laws in there.
Right. There's no reason to be in the stock room unless you're like gonna do something really, really wrong. Alex, just to kind of continue this fun back and forth we're having with the Nightcrawlers, they're saying I'm only coming through one channel. Now, I'm wondering, is that the way that you're picking it up?
No, but Eric, I'm getting your stream directly. Here's what I want to say about that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to take a buy.
Yeah.
On the one channel audio.
Right.
And look at it in the positive way. That Matt looked at it and said, his other ears is jealous, which is I can't even begin to. And you know, we're very open-minded here. That is straight nonsense.
Yeah.
Your ears cannot have feelings.
Yeah.
And if I said that was an okay thing to think, I would make a fool of myself.
Because we already discussed that in season 1 of Dark of the Night. People think that your ears do have emotions, and they don't. Only your brain, your heart, and your soul have emotions.
Right.
So, nice try, Matt in Los Angeles. But whatever the case, let's press on. Alex, how was your week?
Well, I have been kind of overloaded at work.
In what regard?
Well, I've been, you know, they've been saying, Alex, work a half shift today.
Yeah. Who's been saying that, Jared?
Well, Diane told Jared to cut my hours back.
Okay.
So those 4 hours, and that's not a good sign. So here's what I will say. Those 4 hours I get, you know, I look at the positive side of things. Those 4 hours are 4 hours in which every minute of every second and every hour of every day, I get to prove that they're wrong for cutting my hours back. So I end up staying 12 hours every day. I'm burning myself out trying to show them that they should bring me back full time.
Well, I'll tell you what, you should become a math professor, because what you just said was so far over my head that I started for a second to kind of like tune out. And what I was thinking when I was tuning out was like, man, Alex is like so smart with numbers. So, but essentially what you're saying is that you don't have as much money coming in. Is that a problem, or is that
it's
just...
it's what psychologists call a stressor. I have less money coming in. I want to segue here, but it's all worth it. Having no money and being unhappy is worth jerking around all day, because let's dive in to the paranormal, Eric. I want to bring up a quick tangent question from Dr. Watney.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about DMT being a dimensional gateway to talk to aliens? Can I throw some out there for you, Eric?
Yeah, of course.
I had my internet upgraded a couple weeks ago, which again is part of the stressor because I need to pay for that.
Right.
My cable guy said to me, this is not on. I am not representing Time Warner Cable when I say this, but I do DMT.
He said that. I thought you were saying that.
No, I wanted to call Time Warner Cable and the cops. He said that it was an incredibly emotional experience. I have a hard time imagining that a substance can really change your ability to communicate with. Like, can taking a drug change what galaxy you're in, Eric?
Well, I'll tell you what. My drug experiences are few and far between, but I did have one experience that I felt was profoundly spiritual, and it was when I was a senior in high school, and everybody in my high school class was going on the senior cruise. And a senior cruise is, I didn't have any friends, so none of my friends were going. And some guy sold me a tab of LSD. And I went on the cruise ship, and because I didn't have any friends, there was nobody for me to spend time with. And so I would just sleep all day in my cabin, and then when everybody else, all the other high schoolers went to sleep, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I went on the deck of this cruise ship. I took this tab of acid, and I stood on the deck of this ship looking at the moon, hanging over the open sea, and I thought I was an Aztec warrior. And I was just running around on the deck of this ship screaming with my shirt off at the moon. So for me, that did feel sort of like a gateway experience. But, of course, it could have just been sort of drugs. So I would have to say that I kind of could see a sort of a gateway, sort of a pro gateway sort of mentality.
Well, hearing you say that, describe this experience, makes me remember that when we first started, Eric,
Yeah.
our main sort of competitor, as far as the people at the coffee shop where we met at, the normies, there are kind of two main groups who met at this coffee shop, King Coffee, and who were trying to compete for, who was saying the more profound stuff. And there were the paranormies, you and I included, and then there were the people who just did a ton of drugs.
Right.
And they were our main rivals. It was like Hell's Angels and the regular angels, actual angels. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, hearing you say this incredible experience makes me think, well, it's like, well, why are we wasting our time trying to find those kinds of experiences by being patient, and that's the dangerous road to DMT. What I'd say is that it's a cheat, and you don't know what you're getting. Dr. Watney said earlier, it shows you what's already there. I'm not sure that's true. It could be, there's no way to know. It could be a direct line to speaking to aliens, or it could be the devil taking over your brain so that it can, the devil can flush it down the hell's toilet. What do you think, Eric?
Well, we need more data is essentially what we need.
Yeah.
I mean, once somebody does some deep brain scans, once someone actually, a scientist, actually cuts someone's skull open, takes someone's brain out while it's still attached, and lays it out on a table and just watches what it does while somebody's on DMT, then we're not, until that happens, we're not going to really know.
Right. And I'll say, I obviously have a prejudice against DMT. I'm prejudiced against almost everyone. So, and I try to be upfront about that. So I will say, Eric has the right read on that. Inconclusive, we're going to say. We're not sure. There's not enough data.
Matt in Los Angeles says he's only tried LSD once and nothing happened, so he ate a small piece of paper, basically. That's okay. I remember in elementary school, sometimes I would draw like a slice of pizza on a piece of paper, and then I would just eat it. And I thought that was sort of like a funny joke. So I've been there, done that.
It's funny in the way that it's like a New Yorker kind of funny.
Because both of those things are on paper.
I was just thinking, it's not like a hard joke. It's not like a punchline. It's sort of like a curiosity.
Eric, no, I did not sell you that tab, Matt Los Angeles, but I can see why you'd be concerned that I did. If I had some acid, I would sell it to you now because I need the money.
I would also sell drugs for money to make up for my stressors. Eric, genetic engineering. Let's top line this thing. Let's dig in.
Yeah. So genetic engineering is one of those things that's a sort of a hot topic these days because it's a technology that is advancing quickly. And it's a technology that is not technological in that it's sort of a silicone-based venture. It's distinct because it's biomechanics. It's actually tinkering with the building blocks of humanity. And so, Alex, I feel like it's starting to happen quickly, these technologies that are emerging, these gene therapies, gene editing, and it's starting to throw into question what it means to be a human being. Would you agree?
Yes. And what's interesting is that there have been kind of floating around with the rise of some of the technologies that we are surrounded with. We are, in the late 20th century, we have become so attached to informational technology, like TV or communication technology, like TV and phones. It started to feel like, in a weird external way, we were kind of becoming cyborgs. And so the notion was planted for a philosophical idea that Dr. Watney brought up, which is called transhumanism.
Mm-hmm.
So this thought of humans, the idea of the essence of human is going to go away. And now it's been around for a while, but now we're seeing the ball start to roll down the basketball court towards the goal of, and the ball's gonna dunk itself, and the crowd, and I don't know if the crowd's gonna go wild. They might. If I'm in the crowd, I'm going to stop. I'm going to pick up the ball and throw it towards not anywhere on the court. I'm against it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, transhumanism. The notion that sort of we're evolving into something that defies the conventions of what we, historically have thought to be human. Look, from one point of view, we evolved from some other species, and so there's no reason to think that this is sort of the destination that human beings, as they have existed since we became Homo sapiens, that's the kind of like the end point of history. It makes sense to think that maybe we're evolving towards something else that includes furries and includes half-wit human-animal hybrids, that includes cyborgs, that includes sex bots, that includes what you name it. And so, but the point is that we're not having these conversations. Like, why isn't everybody on the street talking about this? Why aren't you seeing a priest on the corner of the street and just grab him by the lapels and just shake him and say, why is this happening?
Let me point out that the Nightcrawlers seem open to the idea of genetic engineering.
Oh, great.
Let me
the Lord knows what they're going to end up doing. Dr. Watney and Matt in Los Angeles will probably become the same person, but different, like a two-headed. I'm sorry, that's not fair. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know why I said that.
Well, you know what's scary, Eric? It is fair. All will be fair. Anything will be possible. Dr. Watney could be Ed Toast. Matt in Los Angeles could be a second. Could be
Toast.
Ed Toast. The hippie Steve could wake up one day and he could be 50% Dr. Watney, and the rest is something else. And that part doesn't even fucking watch this show. So anything is possible. There are no rules. And whether you're for and against it, this is a tectonic shift, Eric, in how humans will exist. Here's a very basic question, just to illustrate. We don't have to answer it. Just to illustrate the kinds of major changes we'll see. Will anyone even normal looking clothes anymore? I'm talking about the classics, like t-shirts and
blue jeans,
Dockers,
Doc Martens,
dresses,
topsiders,
just baseball caps. Is anyone going to use any of that fucking shit anymore?
And then where's it all gonna pile up? I'll tell you where it's gonna pile up. In probably South Africa, or Appalachia, or any other of the other dumps that aren't turned into sort of Elysium level citadels where the beautiful gene edited people reside.
We could easily, Eric, get into a situation where the genetically superior humans say, okay, first of all, everyone, you're done. Get out. Everybody get out of here. Regular humans, get the fuck out. And it's a request that it's not even clear what they're talking about, but we'll have to do it.
Yeah.
And then they'll take our homes. They'll take our homes. And they'll live in them. We could easily get in a situation where somebody else is living in my apartment. Because he wants to. And he's smarter, he's more handsome, he's more fit, he'll live longer naturally. He can eat what he wants and look great. It's a scary idea. Everything will change.
Well, you want to ask yourself, so many people have done so many brave and courageous self-sacrificial things to get us to this point in history where we are now, right? George Washington, Malcolm Luther King, Constable. They all sacrificed so much. If you were to tell them, okay, well, your sacrifice is going to make a difference for maybe your children, your grandchildren, but 500 years from now, we're all going to have sort of things sticking out of both ends. We're going to be half cyborg and half rump steak, grade A Angus with probes pointing in every direction and microchips fused in. I mean, yeah, now are you going to cross the Potomac in the middle of winter to fight the British? George Washington would be like, thanks, I think I'll stay on my plantation and just be smoking cigs.
Yeah,
no thanks.
I mean, try getting. And the hippie Steve said, which George Washington, though? Carver and classic Washington. Both. George Washington Carver was not, he's the guy invented, it was like tons of different uses for the peanut, right?
Right, yeah.
He wasn't doing all that shit just so, no one in the world history was saying, I am doing this to make the world better for 6 generations and then I hope it's gone.
Yeah.
No one was saying that. And in the case of someone, Martin Luther King, it's like, who are you making the world better for? He's like, only my grandchildren. And then after that, everyone will be gone.
Yeah. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, because there's so much pressure right now, I feel like, in our culture and in our world to be ethical and moral, right? Meanwhile, all these unethical people are in sort of politics and in high places of influence around the world. Logan Paul. I mean, I don't mean to single him out. I hope we get to meet him someday and shake his hand and say, man, I wish I had the sort of viewership that you do. But, I mean, he is somebody who is getting away with being kind of like a little bit of a bad guy. And yet, for the common person, there's so much pressure to kind of be moral and do everything right if you're going to be in media. I mean, it's part of the pressure that we feel like when we go in to do some sort of paranormal investigation, not to mess up all the furniture. And I mean, because we've been in situations where we have to go into somebody's house and flip the couches over. We have to spray chemical liquids kind of all over the place. And people are like, what the hell's going on? And we're like, hey, I'm working here, kind of a thing.
Yeah. It's like we try to diffuse the situation by doing a funny New York accent. and it and then while Eric is doing that, I know it's going to fall flat, and so I say, "Listen, asshole, if you want us to save your house, we need to ruin it. So you're stupid."
You know, I think right now, why don't we kind of cool off
Yeah,
by
you're
just
right.
doing the Nightcrawler's pledge.
We are wound up, Eric. I'm wound. I'm so wound up.
And when I say the Nightcrawler's pledge, what I mean is the Nightcrawler's creed. Nightcrawlers, we thought you could hear us that whole time, and we were saying pretty much. I shared some stuff that I'll probably never share with anybody ever again.
It's an incredibly it's totally inadvertent, and I want to say it was a gigantic mess up, but in a lot of ways it's the most one of the more powerful moments we've ever had. Just silence.
Yeah.
And they knew we were reading it.
Well, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to just pop the Nightcrawler's creed right on top of what we're doing right now. So, and then what I might do is sort of play the movie Creed
Mm.
after that.
I I do want to point out that by uh you know, by naming that movie Creed, it's like the official announcement that the band Creed is gone. You know, it's like we know now. It's like your brand has disappeared, so we will now use that name.
And I mourn that because that band Creed,
We are the
it meant
Nightcrawlers.
something to me.
We will always search for the paranormal truth.
We will always search for the paranormal truth.
Friends through eternity, loyalty, honesty.
Friends through eternity, loyalty, honesty.
We'll stay together
We'll stay together
through thick or thin.
through thick or thin.
I'll show you everything
I'll show you everything
with arms wide open.
with arms wide open.
Here comes a ghost.
Here comes a ghost.
I'll stab you.
I'll stab you. Wow. Now, folks, were you saying that at home?
It's a nice moment to remember that we're not facing a transformational moment in history like this alone, Eric. You know?
You mean because the Nightcrawlers are out there?
Yeah.
You know, the Nightcrawlers... No, Matt in Los Angeles, we're not going to start over. Because... We're not going to start over because Scott Stapp was not involved in that reading. But I feel like I see what where you're getting with that.
He meant start over the whole show.
Oh, I see.
Matt, I have to ask. If you can give us a good reason, we'll start the whole show over. Because it's a big ask, Eric. It's like a ask that's, I want to say, to use a buzzword, it's like a disruptive.
We've only done it once before. And that was because we literally we both blacked out. The hippie Steve was a little late, and the beginning is his favorite. Well, that's that's my excuse when I come into Best Buy a little late. I tell them, "Hey, we got to start the day over," and Jared is like, "No," and then I just shut my mouth and I do my work.
Eric,
Yeah.
play the opening title again.
From the deepest depths of the dark web, dark of the night.
Why do we do that?
Welcome to Dark of the Night. I'm Alex Myers.
I'm Eric Yearwood.
I just felt like that was a cool moment, Like, here's why I thought that was a cool moment. First of all, Nightcrawlers, your passion lights my fire. Lights both of our fires. The other thing is, Eric, it shows that we have free will. You know that documentary, that Talking Head song, Stop Making Sense?
Yeah.
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 The big suit.
The one with Jim Morrison in the
He might have been in the credits or the audience, although he was definitely dead. What I'm saying, Eric, is we as humans, we feel passion. We are flawed. We do suddenly play the opening of the show, which only should be at the beginning, in the middle of the show, and that we can curve towards different paths. We're not designed.
No. I mean, someday we are meant to be free. Someday we are definitely going to have Flogging Molly on the show. We've said that. We keep saying that, and
Yeah.
and it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's like this is a free country, and I can do whatever I want, and so I'm going to have Flogging Molly on the show.
Yeah.
The Warped Tour is, I don't know who's going to the Warped Tour anymore. Flogging Molly, you got to do the show. There's no other way to make money.
Yeah. You guys are doing nothing. You're going back to bussing tables. All your wives are pregnant with their 9th kid. I mean, yeah.
And your husbands are pregnant too.
Yeah. And all of your sort of relatives, they're all dead. So do the show. I mean, that's what I would say if I was face to face with one of them at an airport or a bus terminal. But it's the perfect segue back into transhumanism. Because if there wasn't Flogging Molly, then I'd be flogging on a gene somewhere.
They're asking about the pregnant men.
Damn it. I was hoping that they wouldn't go there.
Well, look. There's no men can't actually be pregnant. Not yet.
Not unless they start snipping these genes up.
Yeah, what we're talking about is a few years in the future. I mean, that's what I was doing. I was leaping into the genetically engineered future, right? Where basically it's like the part in Mortal Kombat, the movie where they're like walking to face the bad guy, and it's just like it's basically the sky is like a close up of storm clouds, like from the bottom of the horizon to the top of the sky. It's just a giant storm, and it just looks like the shittiest, rockiest, craggiest desert. That's what the Earth is going to be in a few years.
Yeah.
If the genetically engineered, if these humans will be able to, they won't need oxygen. They don't need to stay here.
Yeah. The only people that are going to be able to survive in the future are Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Luke Cage, Kano, and the rest of them. Gordon, Mr. Big,
Marmot,
Noob Saibot. Look, I'm not going to get my genes edited, okay? Nobody's going to lay a hand on my genes. I'll tell you, I was in the subway last weekend, and some guy came up, and I was eating a slice of pizza. He wanted a bite of my pizza, and he was drunk. And he got in my face for about 3 minutes, and everybody was standing around watching, and he was in my face laughing. He was like laughing and also kind of coming on to me, but he was drunk, and he wouldn't leave me alone. And I got so worked up, I was screaming at him, "Leave me, like, get the fuck out of here!" And he just kept laughing. And I couldn't do anything about it because I didn't want to get a fight on the train platform and get thrown into the tracks and get run over by the subway train. So I just, like, let him sort of basically just violate my boundaries for about 4 solid minutes. And then I got on the train. I was just ashamed on the way home. I don't know. Maybe I should get my genes edited, because if I did, maybe I could kick that guy's ass.
As I was listening to what you were saying, I was thinking the same thing, Eric. I wish that guy had his genes edited.
I was about to edit his genes right there and then. I mean, think about this. Okay, yeah, transhumanism, yada, yada. What if you could turn it into an offensive thing? And both you and I we each had a gene editing kit that we walked around with. And we're just like, oh, yeah, you want to mess with me in the street? Well, guess what? I'm going to zap you with the gene editing tool, turn half of your face into like a monkey face with its brain spilling out.
Yeah. That sounds, to me, gut reaction.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I guess I also sort of mix with that gut reaction, Eric, is there's a trouble, and what we've been talking about, and we have been, we're ringing the alarm here. We're trying to warn people in how heavy duty of a thing this is. There's a troubling history with genetic engineering of trying to, pick and choose the humans who bad people trying to decide which humans are good or bad. I think it's, that being said, if a dick bag gets in my face while I'm trying to eat, I will gladly drop all of my morals to make sure that he is gone.
Yeah.
Forever.
I mean,
that's common sense.
And that's where things get exciting, because for a small window of time before gene editing because before people know exactly what it is and how to monetize it, there's going to be an opportunity for normal guys like you and me, normal kind of crazy guys, yeah, to use the technology to sort of get revenge on just sort of a pedestrian level with people that get up in our face while we're eating on the street.
One of the very few times, when I first moved to New York, Eric, I really thought that people were going to be mean. that's not true. It's not true about New York. They're just indifferent. But also, if you go up to most people and ask for directions, they'll help you. People are generally pretty polite in New York. One of the very few times I had sort of a nightmare, like people are mean in the city scenario. I missed my train. I just missed my train. And Eric, as anybody who lives in the city knows, sometimes it can be 12, 15 minutes before another train comes. And a man, I said, darn it. And a man, I turned to my right, and there was an old man standing there. And I swear to you, he laughed in my face. He just laughed in my face. And what I wanted to say to him was, I will use gene editing to turn you into a stupid joke that can't do anything good or help itself.
I mean, that's the exciting promise of gene editing is, yeah, if I could just walk up, if I could have the confidence that when I'm walking down the street, anybody who kind of tries to mess with me, that I can literally take any of the attributes associated with genetics and just tinker with them. You know, I could lower their IQ 20 points by just sort of like brushing up against them. Then I would be, you know, I would walk around like I had a big thing in my pants.
Yeah.
And it would feel so good for once, you know?
Yeah. We've come full circle a little bit because we're talking about how it's a tempting idea. It's a very human motivation, Eric, that makes you want to use gene editing to sort of destroy someone who is slighted you in the way that it's like, not that they're evil or something, but they're just kind of a big jack off, and you would never harm them, but in a way, because genetic engineering is so fantastic, if you could quickly edit their genes on the spot, it would almost seem less worse than murder. You know what I mean? But in fact, it's much worse. And who doesn't want in on doing that to some guy who's like, hey, stupid, you're next in line.
Yeah.
And it's like, guess what? I will turn you into a slime mold that has a human brain floating in it, and I'll run my bike over it. You stupid ass. And it's not even a threat. It would be, in my fantasy scenario, it would be so easy to do this that as you're saying that, you're actually doing it. You're kind of brainstorming what you're doing to him as you're performing that action.
Well, you know, and this is really good. I'm glad we're talking about this because it's a foregone conclusion that the elite and the ultra rich are going to become gods. I mean, yeah, we can't do anything about that.
Nope.
But what we can do is we can sort of establish sort of a lesser dominance hierarchy here amongst sort of the bottom feeders that are left scraping for survival.
Yeah.
And in that case, it's going to feel so satisfying to, like you said, just kind of wipe somebody's brain clean and just turn their skin, the cells of their skin, into like calcified, like bubbling pus boils.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's temporary, I mean, that's going to be,
and it won't be temporary.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of like the big reason to kind of keep going is the ability to do that to just a guy who sort of cuts you off in traffic.
A lot of times in a field as grandiose and poetic as researching the paranormal, right? You can forget that we all, we're all people. We all, we put our pants on one leg at a time.
Most
Most
of the time.
most of the time. And we feel emotions like anger and jealousy and envy and frustration. And if I mean, I know we're way on the other side of where we started here, but maybe that's a good thing. And what I'm saying is this: if researching and investigating the paranormal is about serving humankind in the highest function, then isn't the best possible conclusion for us as a group of believers who want to better mankind using paranormal investigating, wouldn't it be great if we all just ended up, sort of using small kits that could quickly destroy our not our enemy, but just some guy who kind of pissed us off, just using a small store-bought kit to destroy him?
Well,
it sounds antithetical, but I think it's the sweet spot of where we want to land.
well, the hippie Steve says I'm a little nervous to admit this, considering the topic. I haven't felt human since this past summer. Well, pal,
That's yeah, I don't know.
if I would get yourself to a gene clinic and have them run all your stats, because somebody might have bumped up against you. I mean, let me ask you this: have you been an wipe to anybody on the street recently? Because that person might have pricked you with a tiny pin that injected some sort of CRISPR tool that just kind of changed all of your mechanics around. And when I say CRISPR tool, I think it's a good idea to define what we're talking about. For those who aren't in the know, CRISPR technology, the way that I understand it, Alex, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's essentially some sort of a cellular gene tool that allows them to literally like cut your DNA like ribbon and replace parts of it. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, it's a protein that allows you to remove parts of the DNA molecule, and it's, in a way, it's amazing that we've come this far. It's scary that we've come this far as a species, and it's also a little bit rock and roll, because if I can use a CRISPR tool, in a one way, I feel bad for the hippie Steve, Eric, because it's like, what if he's not human anymore? And the other way, people are suggesting it maybe he pissed somebody off, and maybe the hippie Steve got exactly what was coming to him.
I'm just excited for if they can edit out. I mean, imagine if we no longer were horny.
Oh,
I mean, wouldn't that be just... It'd be a type of freedom that would make your heart sing. No longer looking at anyone and ever feeling anything close to sexy feelings. You just kind of be like, wow, I hit the jackpot,
maybe we were too quick to judge genetic engineering.
Maybe so, Alex.
There was a wait.
What?
There was a network error. Is this happening, or is this just my
What?
my feed?
What? I don't know. What's going on?
Wait a minute. We're live again. Sorry about that, Eric. Our feed died for a second.
Did it really?
Yeah, I think it was a Twitch thing. We're good.
Well,
We're back. And
woo!
Man, I honestly feel like we were ringing the alarm at the beginning of the episode. The Nightcrawlers seemed very open to genetic engineering and its possibilities. We were, saying no. And at the end, you know what? The wisdom of the Nightcrawlers it's
Prevails.
undeniable.
Yeah, you guys out there, you're really something. You really make Alex and I feel like we're just sort of the kings of all media, to use a Howard Sternism. And if I could make a whack pack that included all of the Nightcrawlers, and I could say, oh, you're Beetlejuice. Oh, you're Stuttering John. Oh, you're Baba Booey. And then I could have you all in studio with us all the time. And then one of you could be Artie and like you were overdosing on heroin. That would be pretty darn freaky cool.
It would be. Even, I'm not sure how that situation will come about or how it's sort of could. I mean, maybe genetic engineering is just almost like it's almost like a script writing tool where you're just like, you know what, today I want to live in a mansion and I want to be Howard Stern and I want all of my friends to be copies of Wolverine. And you just wake up every day and you just do some, just some crazy, wacky bullshit. And whatever you make up is just what your life is.
Wouldn't that be great?
Man, it's like a gateway to the imagine. It's like if a child was like, I want to be a penguin when I grow up, and it's like, well, guess what? It's happening right now.
Yeah. It's like, imagine if like Walt Disney and Saddam Hussein were the same person. Like, what kind of crazy stuff would they get up to, do you think?
I want to say that Walt Disney is going to make film no matter what. He's a filmmaker and he's gonna make some great cartoons.
Let's look at the Nightcrawlers are just saying some really quality wacky ass shit. They're talking about werewolves. They're talking about summer blockbusters. Dr. Wankney's talking about innuendo. I don't really know what she's saying. But it's all good, and it's all about community.
Let's start to land the plane.
Sure.
Nightcrawlers, we invite your closing thoughts. We went from ringing the alarm about genetic engineering to seeing its power to destroy in a cool way, to ruin pretty much everything we have in exactly the way we need it all ruined.
That's right.
Like,
we learned that genetic engineering isn't just something to make beautiful, rich people live longer. It's something to make sort of poor, regular people able to exact revenge on one another in the street. And that's not something you come across every day.
It's an opportunity for us all to sort of destroy ourselves and get and be born anew in all sorts of crazy, dare I say, nonsensically absurd ways that are just preposterous to imagine. Dr. Watney says the runway is mediocre at best. Well, this is, maybe the way that we can land the plane now, Eric, will always be mediocre until we have genetic engineering.
Look, if you and I, Alex, were genetically engineered to be the best paranormal broadcasters, then we'd say all the right things. We'd first of all look amazeballs.
Jesus. And
we both have 6-packs all the time, and we probably eating Twinkies like day in and day out. And we'd be able to bench press like 900 pounds. We'd all have like 15-inch wing wangs. And we'd be able to shotgun like a bunch of beers at like a barbecue while people were watching and not get drunk.
Yeah, like our lives would be like what a frat boy, like asshole, like wrote as like a short story for his friend. He's like, hey, don't worry, man, I'll do your homework for you. And then he like submits this like completely insane nonsense to his Composition 101 class. It's like, yeah, and everyone was like made of beer and they breathed weed. Like our lives would be that crazy.
Yeah.
With genetic engineering.
Yeah, and we would also feel complete.
Yep.
Well, I feel like, Alex, I can go to bed tonight satisfied now that we've really touched on the heart and soul of this topic. And I hope, Nightcrawlers, I hope you enjoyed the journey as well.
It was truly wild. And I am excited that it's all over and it's going to be great that it is.
Nightcrawlers, I want to encourage you to tune in next week. Tune in to my VR broadcast, Eric's Arcanum, on Monday night. Tune in to Dark of the Night, per usual, Wednesday night. And then, if you have an opportunity to sort of experiment with gene editing on yourself, well, give that a shot. And tell us how it goes.
Nightcrawlers, it's been a pleasure. I will say, my final thought, someone called for the dark truth. We are very close to having our new studio set up. And although we will be obsolete, I mean, I don't really notice it. We'll have a studio and we'll be obsolete. There will be superhumans ruling us, but we will have a studio with some cameras. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.